Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It's a little dark. It's a little dreary. I think some of that moisture coming up out of the Gulf that's kicking apparently I've heard it's kicking the stuffing out of Florida. And then I hear, it's not so bad. So I guess it depends on who you talk to. But maybe we could turn that kind of thinking. Some people look at history and go, wasn't so bad. Other people go, no. People got the stuffings kicked out of them, right? Or SHTF, as we call it. So here we are today in the timeline. Here's history, and we go forward, and there's the present. I guess I could go longer and wider, but it won't fit on the screen. So anyways, where we're at in history getting us there. History teaches us valuable lessons. Whether it's rhyming, repeating, doesn't matter. Reading, writing, arithmetic. If you research, you can see what happened in the past and see how history can teach us valuable lessons about what we should do today, how we should think about it. Folks, the 30 Years' War. That's a piece of, you could call it ancient history, or you could say it's more modern history because it has to do with white European civilization, right? But it has valuable lessons for us. It teaches us some stuff that we should think about for today. The 30 Years' War was a European conflict. It was Central Eastern Europe, and it was fought in, folks, even in the 1600s. It was still called the Holy Roman Empire. Anyways, the war lasted from 1618 to 1648, roughly. That's where it gets its name, the 30 Years' War. 30 years. That's a long time for war to be happening. This war, the 30 Years' War, was considered one of the most destructive, certainly at its time, most destructive European wars in history, right? Civilian deaths, and this was, remember, hundreds and hundreds of years ago. Civilian deaths from 4.5 to 8 million people. They didn't have censuses back then that went around and said, are you dead? Are you dead? Are you dead? And counting bodies. They just estimate. Right, 60% of the population may have died in some areas of Germany alone. Right now, there was also an 8 Years' War and other small wars associated with this 30 Years' War, but it's a big deal. Now, what it was about? It was about Ferdinand. He was deposed as the king of Bohemia. Bohemia being part of Germany. They had funny names for them back there. You had Bohemia. Prussia, Franco-Prussian Empire. That's right, the Bohemian Rhapsody, right? There's all kinds of stuff going on there. So you had Ferdinand being replaced by Frederick V of the Palatinate. Frederick the Elector. Okay, so you had all of these names, and we kind of sometimes hear about them today, right? Habsburgs in Australia, House of Bourbon, Christian of Denmark, Gustavus Adolphus. Oh yeah, great names, right? Sonorous sounding, nasally names like Gustavus Adolphus, right? You had all these people. Anyways, the 30 Years' War happened because there was a political figure who was replaced by another political figure. And it was a battle about belief systems, Catholicism, Christianity, religion. Now you're going, okay, John, what does this have to do with Germany then, America today, kings then, elected officials today, religions then, belief systems of today? It is a foggy mirror, but a mirror nonetheless. Back then, again, kings being replaced. Well, belief systems, regional control. There was a revolt back then. It was called the Bohemian Revolt. It was quickly suppressed. Fighting expanded. Here we are today. We've got someone who's been installed, much the same way the church and other officials said, you get to be king, you don't. Right? Because the church, the Catholic Church, decided they're going to coronate. They got to decide who was the king. In other words, they were the king makers and the king breakers. Today, do you and I get to elect people, or are they selected, put in place, coronated, if you will? Obviously, folks, yes. So we had King Trump replaced by King Biden. We could end up with some sort of peasants' revolt here in America. The belief systems aren't exactly religious in nature, Catholicism versus Protestantism, but it could be if you look at it. Catholicism was top-down, centralized belief systems coming from the Pope. Protestantism was self-taught, self-thinking, understanding of spirituality. You make your own decisions, freedom. So back then, this 30 Years' War, even though it was religious in nature, it was about you'll do as you're told or you'll do as you want. Do as you're told, do as you want. Do as you're told. I mean, there's still rules and laws, but do as you're told or do as you want. Here we are today. Got the communist, fascist, left-wing, globalist scumbags and their rhino compatriots. Do as you're told, authoritarianism. Or American, constitutional, common law thinking, basis, rights. Do as you will, don't hurt others. That's the fight, folks. It's the same fight. Now, here's one more important thing. People were killed. Like I said, this is the most destructive war on human life, resources. It was shit hits the fan. 30 years of shit hitting the fan all over Central and Eastern Europe. Shit hitting the fan, including parts of Italy, involving other nations that were commercially involved. Oh, yeah, folks. Commerce was interrupted. England, Spain, France, Sweden, all over Scandinavia, it was affected. Commerce was interrupted. People's lives, families, fortunes were destroyed, manipulated, lost, traded, sold off. Shit hitting the fan. People say, it can't happen now. We're too smart for that. Oh, are you fucking kidding me? Take a look at what they're doing in DC. Pushing critical race theory to piss the people off and divide them, creating another sub-religion. Not only is it do as you're told, top-down authoritarianism from Democrats and globalists, but it's do as you're told, top-down authoritarianism from globalists. And if you're a white person and you don't submit, bend your knee, confess your sins of being white and racist, we will crush and kill you. Versus think for yourself, be your own human. By the way, folks, it's my understanding that minorities think the CRT stuff, for the most part, is bullshit, except those who want to use it for political gain. And if they win, folks, history will record that you, regardless of your color, gender, age, were an extreme racist. And heaven forbid, folks, if you're brown, person of color, black, and you aren't on their side, this authoritarian side, you'll be considered a traitor and turncoat. Your family probably destroyed. You'll be castigated, villainized, demonized for all time. We have to win this. Once again, it's not a debate. It's not an argument. Facts don't matter. It's going to come down to conflict and war. And there's one more detail here I want to bring in before I close this out. Right? This week in history, SHTF, the 30 Years' War, is population displacement. In all wars across all history, civilians suffer the hardest. Now, think about it this way. Military, or competing forces. They have weapons, they have plans, they have supplies. They can conflict, argue with each other with extremely fast volleys of thought, right? People who aren't prepared, civilians trying to go about their lives, scurrying about, getting Holy cow, everybody. Okay, civilians unprepared. I think that's where everything got cut off. We're way up north, but I think that hurricane slash rainstorm is coming our way and it's starting to affect the power. Shit happens. Got to be prepared. So thank you for going through that waiting period. When power gets interrupted, the streaming service keeps going until we get everything set again. So I'll pick this up right where I think I was at. Civilians unprepared. You got armies prepared. You got preppers and patriots prepared, and they come together. But civilians are unprepared. Civilian populations get displaced. Now, of course, armies, they ebb and flow, surge, advance, retreat, standoff, siege. There's all of these things that happen, but civilians are the ones that suffer the most. They're not ready. They're not prepared mentally or with resources like food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, or a means of personal self-defense. Civilians suffer the most. And by civilians, I mean not you. We're all civilians in a sense. We're all part of the militia in a sense, because that's what law is. But in the 30 Years' War, so many people were displaced. People were killed. Entire populations wiped out. Cities, territories burned. Right? War is hell. It is SHTF. I don't want any part of it, folks, but it's coming. There's so many similarities between then. You don't have to go to the American Revolution or the Civil War, World War I and II. It's part of history, folks. This week in history. Think about it, goes back even further. That's why I wanted to go to the 30 Years' War. It was about political exchange of leadership. The difference between totalitarian rule and freedom. And the fact that an extended conflict can consume the world. And again, back then, the world wasn't just Germany and the Bohemian, Bavarian, Central Europe and the Holy Roman Empire. It involved all of Europe, from England over to Portugal and Spain and over into the Baltic states. You bet. Up north into Scandinavia, down south into Italy, Greece. It affected everywhere. But that was the world back then, essentially. The world of, evil European Western civilization. That's why my family came to America. I'm sure that had something to do with it. This war was fought from 1618 to 1648. And if you think when it ended in 1648, everyone was like, okay, let's break out the brats and the beer and have a party and Oktoberfest. No, there's hurt feelings. There's loss, property loss. People remembered a long time. And America was looked at, folks, across Europe. Across the great Atlantic Ocean, the sea, lay America, land of the free, home of the brave. It wasn't all those things yet, but it was a land of opportunity, religious freedom. Whether you were Protestant or Catholic, you could do what you want over there. There was opportunity with William Penn and you could volunteer to be a slave for anywhere from 7, 5, 10 years in order to be given a tract of land and passage and work. Right? It was a strange time in the world, folks. We're entering a very strange time in the world. Shit has hit the fan. War is, in my opinion, inevitable. The type of war, I don't know. Will it be all guns and bullets? Will it be people being marched up to the hangman's noose? Will it be biological? Or will it just stay largely psychological? Any way you look at it, folks, it's going to be an extended SHTF session. You won't be able to store enough food to make it 30 years. But you can certainly, folks, store enough food to make it through the hardest of times and to help you protect yourself, maintain your health, and keep getting to that next step. It's going to be ugly. It's coming. Look what they're promising us. Door-to-door knocking. Oh yeah, we're going to give you some tequila shots. Left-wing lunatics on the street saying, bend the knee to us or we'll kill you. Government saying, you must be an extremist and dangerous because your political opinions differ. And religious war, folks. religious war, zealotry, fanaticism. That's where the term, zealot, that meant freedom fighter or terrorist, depending on what side you were on back in Jesus's day. Fanaticism, football fan, baseball fans, hey, we're all fans. No, fanatists were fanatical and had fanaticism. They would do anything to fulfill that personal obligation. They were fanatical about it. And when you're fanatical about an ideology, especially one that's based on ignorance and stupidity like the political left, they don't understand the consequences of what they're doing. They don't. They're just fanatical about getting what they want. They don't care about the destruction, the death, the murder, the mayhem. They're fanatics. They're zealots. It's incredible, folks. Get prepared now. I hope you enjoyed this session of This Week in History. Godspeed. Get prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. Go to thepreparedmind.club. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can watch videos. You can watch this first, see it early, participate in live presentations with Q&A, live Q&A. $2 a month, folks, for you on YouTube. $2 a month. Everyone on Patreon understands it and enjoys it, has the value. Plus, you get things that you'll never get on plain old YouTube, which is this, the weekly wrap up, uncensored. But we need everyone. We need all good Americans to become prepared. We need good Americans to reach out, network, and use reason, intelligent thought, conversation, discourse, sometimes debate, to let people know this is coming. The 30 Years' War is an excellent example of both secular and religious authoritarianism, the people's fight against it, the destructive capacity and ability. It's not just World War I and II. It's not just more modern history. Shit has hit the fan across all of human history. And we're here again. Semper Fi. God bless.